I'm Kayla Weiss, and you guys have obviously just done a lot of department bills. Is there anything that you've signed on that you're really excited about that you can share?
Every bill I've ever signed on to has been exciting.
Good answer.
Yeah. Now, Kayla, you used the word exciting. All of us have a different different way of explaining this exciting. I'm sure that Caleb's version of exciting is different than mine, but what I think is exciting is being able to do like the E30. This is a bill that I signed on to or got going. It's actually one of the first ones I worked on, and it's a resolution that supports the governor in transitioning all the state vehicles from regular petroleum products into the E30. Now, why do I think that's a good idea? Well, it'll cost us less, all right? And even if it costs us the same, let's just say that it costs exactly the same for E30 as it does for regular gas, all right? The extra 30 or the extra percentage of people that are benefiting from this are farmers and our ranchers and our people in our communities. And if I can send our profits to our agricultural area instead of sending our profits to the Saudi Arabia or wherever gas is produced, I think that's a really good idea. So that's why I'm on that bill. But I'm going to give you 3 interesting facts as long as I'm talking to you about that. And this is on agriculture. The 47% of all the sunflowers produced in the United States are in South Dakota. 20% of all the bison that are raised are in South Dakota. And 14,500,000 pounds of honey are produced each year in South Dakota. This is a state that's really an agricultural strong state. So when I say E30 is important, I want to support the ag industry, and anybody in Aberdeen, South Dakota that doesn't think that we're an ag economy is probably a little bit crazy. And the reason for me saying that is if you're selling cars at Lust or at Aberdeen Chrysler Center or whatever, if the farmers aren't doing well, you're probably not going to sell a lot of pickups. If the farmers are doing well, you're probably going to sell more pickups. So the ag industry is extremely important. And there are 2 things that I'm going to give you, and then I'm going to sit down. 1 acre of South Dakota corn produces about 423 gallons of ethanol. And then this is just a fun fact. Write this one down because not everybody knows this. There are 25 licensed farm wineries and 33 licensed microbreweries in South Dakota. This is a great state for wine, for brewery, for honey, for agriculture, and E30.
So can I still talk about E30 or no?
You can.
I'll be quicker though. Just kind of to piggyback on what Carl said, I think the E31, which I wasn't the prime sponsor, but I was a co-sponsor. The E30 is a good discussion to have, and I may be a little bit biased. My father-in-law works out at Glacial Lakes Energy, so I'm actually currently doing the E30 challenge that Glacial Lakes Energy has been conducting here for a while. And so what you do is you fill up with 3 tanks of E10, and then 3 tanks of E30, and so then you collect all your receipts and your mileage and see what you get and see what's the better value. What I found in my vehicle up to this point, and I've ran probably a dozen or 15 tanks of E30 through my standard vehicle that is not a flex fuel. I've seen really no change in fuel economy on average, and the price of E30, well, for example, yesterday I filled up and it was 30 cents cheaper than regular E10. Sometimes it's not quite that much, but yesterday it was 30 cents cheaper. A couple other things, I have a campaign finance bill that I just introduced yesterday. It requires more reporting for, sorry Mike, I don't know if Mike Weiss is still here, more reporting for county candidates and then legislative candidates too. Only if there's a primary for that specific race, so as long as it's not a primary, it won't change. And then one question that may come up still, horse racing. I'm sponsoring an appropriation bill for that. It's going to be $300,000 over 2 years, so the bill just says $600,000 to keep horse racing up and going at our 2 tracks, which is in Fort Pierre and then obviously here in Aberdeen also. I think it's our obligation. During the Janko administration, we swept millions of dollars out of the horse racing fund. So I believe it's our obligation to restore that, or at least restore part of it, and make sure our horse racing keeps up and running here for Aberdeen and Pierre and our community. So that's one bill that's starting out in the Senate. Senator Monroe from Pierre is the Senate prime sponsor, and I'm the House prime sponsor. So I'm excited about that, to hopefully keep horse racing up and going here in Aberdeen, because I know that's an important thing for a lot of people here and also for our local economy.
Couldn't resist the opportunity to point out that Drew Dennert just said that he hopes to keep the horse racing industry up and running. It's very punny. You know, Kayla, your question is really interesting, and I was looking, and there are a lot of good bills out there, and I've signed on to a pretty fair number of them, and there are some that, you know, it would be an easy recap, and there are some that would take quite a while. But the one thing I wanted to talk about is yesterday in State Affairs there was a bill up. There was a joint resolution asking the voters to weigh in on whether we should go from a 2-year term to a 4-year term for legislators. And I was speaking against the bill. And all of a sudden the chair of the committee says, "Huh, simple bill, huh?" Well, very seldom am I interrupted while I'm speaking, especially by the chair, and I thought he wanted me to like shut up or something, and I looked over at him and didn't really get any feedback. And I concluded my remarks, and he spoke next, and he said, "You know, this morning when I got up, I figured that I would vote for this. I thought it was a simple bill." And he said, "As I hear the arguments being made, I realize there's a lot more to it than meets the eye, and I think I've been persuaded to vote against it." And that does happen sometimes, where you think that something appears at first blush to be a pretty good idea, you hear new information on it, and you learn that it is otherwise. And as I say that and see Sister Bjorn nodding her head, you testified on a tough bill yesterday. And we were asked by a group where we would land on a particular issue. And I think for a lot of us, we just said, well, that's an easy one. I'll vote to support that. And then you learn that there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. And I really do respect you, sister, for your testimony. I listened to it today on the way up, in fact, and recognize that it was a tough position for you to be in, and it was a tough position for a lot of legislators to be in having to cast a vote on that issue one way or the other, because good people and honest minds can disagree, and sometimes we're forced to come to a different realization that something that sounded pretty good as it was, you know, as we were given the quick pitch, turns out to not be so good after all. So I just wanted to share that with you folks.
I go to Pierre for 40 nights, 40 days, and leave Aberdeen and leave my family and do that to make an impact. So what I get excited about is when I make an impact, when something matters. And so I thought about what am I involved in, what have I been involved with, the things that really have an impact. Obviously Northern, what we've been able to do for Northern, what the donors that have donated all the money to make Northern a better place, that is impactful. I believe President Dowland says the word momentum is the word we're going to start using from now on. So it's momentum is what we've got accomplished there. We got momentum, creating a better town, creating a better region, and that's, I'm excited. It's impactful. It will change lives in the future, and that's what it's all about. Another one that I mentioned earlier was juvenile justice, which is trying to turn some children around that are headed in the wrong direction before their lives are ruined and before they have the opportunity to cost the taxpayers more money in the future and commit crimes against you. So that's an impactful thing I'm working on. And then a few years ago, I was involved in a piece of legislation that I was a prime sponsor on that's very impactful, and I'm going to share that with you. It's controversial, but it's impactful. It's changed lives, and that's what it's all about for me. Basically what the bill said was, it's a pro-life bill. It said that before the bill passed, an abortion provider could do same-day abortions. Walk in on Monday, walk out Monday afternoon, be done with an abortion and have the decision over with. And the bill said the abortion provider has to meet the patient and wait for 3 days. I mean, that's not much of a bill, is it? Statistically, what we've proven that is done is 70 women choose not to come back 3 days later. So each year, 70 women make the decision, after given 3 days to think about it, do not come back. That's impactful. There are 70 times, I think, 4 or 5 years, so we're talking 70 times 4, 300 young people are alive today because mom had 3 days to think about it. That's a big deal. Planned Parenthood took it to court. We fought over in court for 3 or 4 years because they didn't think it was appropriate. The other half of that bill is still in court. It's more impactful than the one I just described. It's part of the same bill, and it has more of an impact. What it does is it says it gives the woman an opportunity for free counseling. Doesn't force her to take free counseling, offers it to her. If that bill finally gets out of court, which we think it will, we think the state of South Dakota is defending that action, that lawsuit by Planned Parenthood. If we win that bill, it will probably save 150, 200 lives per year. What gets me excited is making an impact on the future of South Dakota. Thank you.
One of the bills that I've seen this year that I really was happy to see, and Brock's helped me look it up, figure out which one it was. I don't remember if it's actually passed completely through. I know it went through the House already. There's a bill to bring the opportunity scholarship for the homeschoolers in line with the public school. See the two numbers come together so that it was that you had an SAT score of 24 if you were in public school and a 28 if you were in a homeschooler, and they went ahead and brought those to be both at 24, I believe it is. So that's one that I've seen come through that I'm really excited about. 1040. Thank you.